I thought that fireflies.ai is coming. No, Banu?
Yeah. No. Even when you don't record, it happens.
Oh, yeah. See, now she's.
So I hope it's okay. I'm going to record this meeting and then we can share the link with people. I'd just like to welcome you to this virtual workshop on holding a social audit panel, and very much welcome to Lata and Banu from San in India, who'll be giving a presentation about how they've been managing virtual social audit panels. If for everybody else, if it's okay, please could you put your microphone on mute unless you're speaking. Please, as Banu suggests, please can you put any questions as you go along into the chat box and I will pick them up. And then we'll have questions and answers after the presentation. If you do want to ask a question and you haven't put it in the chat box when we get to that stage, please do. Does everybody know how to put their hands up? You can wave your hand if you want, because I can see most of you, but if not, you can put your hands up under the the participants. If you open participants, you can put your hand up there. Like I say, if you have your camera on and you want to wave your hand, I will see you too. Okay, we are recording. I will send round a link and we intend to publish that link so that others can see the presentation afterwards. And finally, when you come to speak and ask a question, perhaps if you'd just like to introduce yourself so that we know who you are and where you're from. Okay, is that okay if I hand over to Banu and Lata now?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Lata will start the session and I'll follow. Can you see my screen? Yeah. Over to you, Lata.
Yeah. Hi, all of you. It's nice to meet all of you virtually again. It's quite good because we're meeting again within 2 months, and I'm really happy to be here. The topic which they've asked me to talk is about virtual social audit panels, which we actually started doing it even before the pandemic is there. So we have done 2 panels, online panels, and we'd like to share our experience on how we conducted it. And also the fact that now we've also started to do the entire audit process virtually. So we've also come out with a small framework of how we can do it right from step 1 to step 4. How to do it online is also what we are now started to do. So we'll probably share those ideas also with you, and we can see how we can learn together in this process. So as you all know, the virtual the social audit panel, you know the steps that go into it. Banu?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the social audit panel process, which we generally do in an offline case. We appoint the panel, they examine the draft accounts, send the social audit verification checklist to the panelists, then do the trail and write the notes, and further which we change the draft, revise the social accounts, and then we issue the statement. This is the normal process. But when it comes to a virtual panel, how different it is in, we've just writing it as steps now. So going to the next slide. Yeah. So the first thing is we, when we start the panel, we try to talk to the panel. We identify who the social panel, audit panel members would be. After which we communicate to them, brief them on their role in the panel, because now this is going to be an online panel. It's just not enough that tell them what they need to do, but we also talk to them and tell them what their role in the panel would be. Then we also email the draft social accounts a week before the panel and tell them that you have to read the accounts end to end, and if they have any doubts, they could ask us. We also do a mock session. We also find out what is a tool that everybody is easy to handle, because it's going to be online. There are so many tools available and they might not be having certain, they might not be having a Zoom or a Google Meet or something. So we ensure that everybody has the same platform, and we tell them that this is the platform which we'll be using it. And then do a small mock session before the panel meeting to ensure everybody is in, like they know how to operate and how they should talk and all that. So we do a small round of briefing before the panel, and then we tell them what their role is during the panel process, and start with the trail. So the trail happens a day before the audit, as we all know. So we get the list of the secondary data and the primary data sources from the client and submit it to the social auditor. See, I'd like to tell one important thing. At SAN India, operate as both a consultant and as a social auditor. So we are a group of people who write the social accounts for the other organizations. Not many organizations have the competency to write the accounts by themselves. So it is mainly a consulting assignment which we get in India. So what we do is we write accounts. Like we have about 20 social auditors who are now accredited by SAN UK. So amongst us, we get a few clients. So one or two of us would write the social account, and we'll have the other auditor who will come to audit the accounts. So that is how mostly it's being done over here, because very rarely we have organizations writing the accounts for themselves and asking to come and audit it. So we play the role of doing all the activities now. So there is a group of us who are involved end to end, except for the auditor who comes and only during the panel. So all this is done by one of us here. Even the trail, we try to organize the trail so that the auditor is there. He just has to come and do the trail and go. So that's how it works here. So there's a lot of, it's not like one-to-one. It's a group effort mostly. Most of the audits which we do is a group effort. I'd like to very importantly emphasize on that point here. So first we get the list of secondary data and primary data sources from the client and share it with the auditor, so that the auditor will now say what are the data he or she would like to check. And then we also ask them to share all the data and the analysis that is done. If there's anything in an electronic form, in an online, if it's in an Excel file or a Word document or some documentary, we ask them to share all that is online 2 days ahead, so that we can send it to the auditor to check it out. And then also the auditor in turn, after we share the list of primary data and secondary data, he or she would want to check a few documents. So they'll tell us that we want to check these things, and we would send that list to the client, or the auditor themselves would send the list to the client and ask them to share all that either as a scanned image or as a photo image. So after that, the auditor will now conduct the virtual meeting with the staff also. She does a staff meeting. She talks to the team which has written the accounts and finds out what happened during the process and gets their feedback, and then shares what she or he thought about the entire report, and the trail gets completed. This is how the trail happens online. Is there any doubts in this? Okay. The next is the virtual panel which happens. So the first thing is we tell them which platform we are working on, and the entire meeting would be recorded. So the introduction happens of the panel members, and then this, as usual, the trail, the social or how you do the panel happens, the page by page verification happens, and the auditor tries to keep track of all the mandatory changes, and the clients also respond to the panel's queries as we do in a normal panel. The only thing is it's on a Zoom platform. Then we have done the verification checklist in a Google form. So the Google form is uploaded for the auditor, the social audit verification checklist, and each of the auditors from their computers would fill in the form, so that we can keep track of what happens in the thing and analyze. You've done the verification checklist is very important, right? So we do that, and then the panel gets over, and we thank the panel and the client. This is what happens during the panel. This is about 1 or 1.5 hours it takes, depending on the size of the social accounts. So when we did the social audit panel for the virtual social audit panel for the first time for the Dubai client, at that point of time, everything was not on Zoom because we had two centers. One was our office and their office in Dubai. So the panel members traveled, two of them were from Dubai, panel members, and two panel members were from Chennai. So we had two, only in two cases it was, at that time travel was possible when we did. So we had in one office and another office. So it was very easy for us to communicate. It's only one, they were in so many windows, only one window was there in the sky, and they would ask questions and we would respond from here. The panel from here would ask them questions, and this was how it happened. It went off well. When we did it for the second time, there were three members because at that time I think Banu was in her office and I was in my office, and we had the Dubai team in one office. Because the problem in Dubai was they could only do Skype and they could not do Zoom and all. At that point of time, it was not allowed, though it's allowed now. So we had that. We did the panel that way, and all what happened in the trail was similar to this because it was only one-to-one person. Only the auditor was in communication with the group, so they could do the trail accordingly because, and most of the documents were online for them. They did not have any documents per se which they had. They were all having it in a virtual form. So it was easy for us to do it. Now, this is a social audit panel verification checklist which we have done in Google Forms. And this is how the panel members would, here it's yes, no, and don't know, though it is those smileys. We tell them it is actually the smileys there. We send them the hard copy, but we could not put the smileys there. So we'll tell them, you say whether it's a good smiley, a mild, moderate, or a good smiley, whatever. So we tell them that, and they would enter the details as per the verification checklist which is there. And then since it comes from their email ID, it's an authenticated thing. Their email ID is also there. So we have proof that this person has sent it to us. So after which the panel gets over, then the revision of the social accounts happens, and the draft panel notes and the recommendations are sent to the client. The revised social accounts will be shared, and then we issue the social audit statement. So this is how it works here. In India, we also do one extra thing which is not done in SAN UK. We give them a social audit certificate, a certificate like this, which says that your organization has been socially audited. So they are very proud to have this. It looks like an ISO certificate, and when we go to our client's office, we feel very happy to see it in their walls, all lined up that they have done the social audit. So we give this as a framed thing to them after the panel is over and after the social accounts has been finalized. Yeah. So that was about the panel which we did. Do you have any doubts, anybody? Banu?
Yeah.
Anything in the chat?
I'm on full screen, so I can't see. Let me check.
Okay, so the questions so far. So there's some interest, very much interest from SAN UK. Liz, do you want to just in the approach that SAN India are using?
Yeah, I think it sounds brilliant, Latha, and I could imagine using that very easily, especially at the moment. I like the way that you described that you have clients or colleagues rather who write the accounts and then another colleague audits them, and we've done a little bit of that in the connectives, and it makes me think that it's something that SAN UK could be thinking about doing, because we have a number of smaller organizations who say to us, wouldn't it be great if we were able to go through this, but we just don't have the capacity or the capability at the moment. And so to see that you've been able to do that on behalf of somebody, audit them with a sense of independence, because there's that kind of wall between you as consultants, and do that in a way that feels as though it's credible and stands up to scrutiny, is really reassuring. And it makes me think there's lots of that we could be doing that would probably build the amount of social accounts or social accounting and auditing that's going on in the UK. So excellent, and a really lovely way that you describe it as well, that you make it sound very simple, step by step by step by step by step. So really good. Thanks, Latha. It's great.
Yeah, so this is, you know what, like we started off as a training center for social entrepreneurship, and we are a non-profit. Now we use the social audit as our revenue generation model. It's the money that comes from the audit consulting that makes us run our center. So we also only charge the corporates and the for-profit social enterprises. We don't charge the NGOs at all. We do it pro bono for them. One of the more, when we have the master classes happening, so if anybody, one more thing in India which we have made mandatory is, to become a social auditor, you need to write a set of social accounts, and then only we will give them the certificate. Otherwise, we don't say that you attend the master class and become a social auditor. That's not the case here, because we want them to know the process end to end. Because you can independently work as a consultant, so we don't want them to, you know, use methods which are going to be different and not in line with what SAN UK has listed us. So we are it's very sacrosanct for us. So we also want them to follow the same principles. So what happens is, when they all come to the master class, everybody has to write a set of social accounts, which will take at least 2 to 3 months for them. And so we recommend NGOs to them, and all of them do it pro bono for an NGO. And they understand more when they do it for an NGO, because, you know, the NGOs work in varied areas, and, you know, they can write, they understand the process end to end. So it is only and between this, we form a cohort, and there'll be another person, there'll be 5 of them who had written the accounts. Then we will also do the mentoring of the social auditor within these 5. So it works easy for us and for them also, because they also gain a lot of understanding about the process totally. And one more thing is, in the master class, we've also started doing a live social audit panel, because we found that initially when we were doing the master classes, people, they were scared to write. They didn't understand what needs to be written. When we were following the UK method of just doing the masterclass, we found that there was no translation of people attending the masterclass into auditors. So then we realized that they didn't understand what was happening in the panel. So what we do is, we'll have a live panel happening on day 3. And everybody, all the people who have enrolled for the masterclass attend the panel as observers. And then we'll have 1 or 2 hours separate session with them to tell them, to clear all the doubts that they had in the process and all that. So we found that was really effective. They really understood the value of why a social audit, a social accounts needs to be audited, and they understood why a panel is very, very important as against just writing the report. So these are little changes which we did from what was there, but of course it's all what you guys have taught us, and that's what we are taking it forward. But this is the problem is, India, as you know, it's quite vast, and there are about 3.1 million NGOs in India. So if 10 social auditors, 20 social auditors is not enough. At the rate at which it's going, we need about thousands of social auditors, but we need good ones who would really report correctly, not chuma take money from somebody and write something and go. So that ethics should be inbuilt in them. So that is why we are taking this extra precaution to, you know, train them and, you know, really create a good person. And that's why we only have 20 who are really there, good ones. Not many have come into not many have passed the test still. Though we have done master classes for more than 200 people. Only 20 have written and become auditors. We are very strict what to do.
Sue, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah, this is really interesting. Thank you for sharing so much. This is great, really rich learning. The piece I'm curious about, because I'm not familiar with it, is this idea of having that team approach where people work on the social accounts and others do the audit. And I can really see the value of that. But I'm wondering, one of the joys for me as an auditor is every organization I go to, it feels really different. And I just wonder, when you have the same people preparing the social accounts, do you still have that, or how does that work? Or do they, I'm just wondering what blind spots are created because it's the same people writing the accounts, albeit with different organizations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's a very valid point. So there are a few of us who only write accounts. We are only social accountants, though we are trained auditors. Like, for instance, I'd have written about 30 social accounts, but I'm not audited per se. I've only audited about 5 to 6. But I have my other friends who are there who do the audit. So the thing is, we want more people to write the social accounts. Writing the social accounts is more important for us than even doing the social audit, because it has still not become what it's not. People don't know how to write the social accounts. Whether they have money, even the CSRs, they don't know how to write it, but they want a report. They do not know how to write about the impact, how to track the impact, what questions to ask. So we need to guide them. So we're still in that phase. And when I don't know, it'll take about 10 years for us to reach the level you guys have reached, where you are only auditors and the organization writes it for themselves. And I don't think we are near that stage at all in India.
Well, I think you can turn it the other way around though and see the value of what you're doing. And I'm not sure that it's necessarily one is ahead of the other. I can see it. But yeah, I just was thinking, if you had the same consultants working with different organizations, if the feel stays the same with the social accounts, I can see the value of the sort of consistency that gives, but whether you get enough of a kind of, different feel with each organization or not.
Yeah. See, not that only I write or something. The entire team, we split it out. Like we are still having, out of the 20, about 12 of us are very active. So we take it up. We'll say, you do it, you do it. If somebody, there are also a few people who have expertise only, and we are also creating social auditors with specific expertise. Like there are 2 people who are very good with working with children, because they are all child right activists and they understand in and out. So we use them as auditors only for child-based organizations. There is a person who's very good in de-addiction. So we use her only for an organization which comes in. So we also try to, create such auditors with the expertise also.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Thank you.
Dave, do you want to come in?
Yes. So we'll...
Dave had his hand up. A real hand, not a virtual hand.
That's right, a real hand. I thought Sue's point was quite interesting. I guess it would depend to a degree on how much the person writing the accounts uses the local or the organization they're writing for to assist them. Would the objective be that there's a bit of a almost a training of the people within the organization eventually to be able to have the skills to do it themselves?
Yeah.
And then, so it's a partnership, it's an engagement, it's a capacity building process, rather than just writing the account. It is actually trying to put across the principles. So, and they may do that for 1 or 2 years, but to look to hand it over to have that expertise within the organization to then write their own accounts.
See, that's what we try to do. But what happens is, after 2 years, the person who we trained is not in that organization. That is the biggest problem we have. We would have sat and put our heads against one person, but that person would leave the organization, and when you go after 3 years, there'll be somebody else, and again we'll have to train them. So this is what has been happening consistently within any organization. So every time we have a different person who will be in charge of writing the social accounts. That also means that that is the level of importance they're giving. We are only trusting it on them.
Has anybody got any questions? Sorry,
well,
Dave.
I was just going to say, therefore that training is about getting the organization trained, and maybe have a team of people within the organization rather than rely on one person to do that, so that there may be one person that heads it up, but they need a team of people who are they're training up under them. So there's a succession of, and the knowledge stays with the organization in a sense, rather than with the invested in the person, one person that you're dealing with.
I understand, but you know, the biggest problem for us is not everybody knows English in India. So the person who writes is the only person who knows English in that entire organization. They know the entire process, but they would not be able to write it to us. So we are going to the next level of asking people to write it in the local language. You please give it to us in local language and we'll translate it, because that is exactly the same problem which we face. We were having so many people trained, but after 2 years, the person would not be there. So they say, do not know English, who else will write? She has left the organization. So then that is becoming a big problem. So these are the biggest issues in India we have. So we are also trying to tackle it. We are telling them, okay, write in local language and send it to us. We'll have it translated during the panel or something like that. Still, but people have not, they want to write in English only. They also, though they don't know English, they want to write it in English, then they have to be dependent. So that's why even we are there for business. Otherwise, we would not be there.
Okay, thank you. Liz, I think you've got a virtual hand up.
I have. I've got 2 questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
The first part comes from the translation piece that you just mentioned. Do you build into the cost, the cost of the translation?
We've still not started it. We've just told them, sounded them that, but nobody has come forward. That's what, no, they feel that writing in English is the big thing. So they want to look out for somebody else who will write in English. If they don't have anybody else, they'll call us and we'll have to do it for them.
Okay, that's great. The second part of my question is about, given that you're not in the same room as people when you're doing this stuff, have you ever had any concerns around whether what you're seeing is true? I'm trying to think about the fact that I might apply this virtual approach to a different standard. And I'm trying to think, how do I know whether I can trust what I'm seeing?
See, it all, when we do the stakeholder consultations, we go one-on-one, no? So we understand when we talk to the people, what's really happening, are they reporting the right things or not. So when the stakeholder consultation happens, the truth comes out. So if we find that there is a mismatch, then we go to the organization and we'll tell them, but because they have given us the, because they have assigned the consulting to us, we'll say we'll write only what we have seen. We are very ethical in that. So there's no need for us to cover them up, because they're not going to do anything. So it comes in the recommendations or what went wrong, what went right. We'll just report on it, saying that this person, there was a mismatch, that there were a few stakeholders who were unhappy with what was happening. All that would be reported. So in that way, we have really built the credibility about the report within India. Everybody knows that it's a social audit report from SAN India. It is nothing but the truth. And you won't believe it, all the NGOs ask us to write because they get more funding after their donor sees the report. Because everything is listed out, whether it's right or wrong, we write in the report. So that is there. That all our social accountants and auditors are first be non-judgmental and also report on what is happening there.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have something in the chat? Social audit reports are in local language only in India. The colleague Anuradha, do you wish to say something?
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. The social audit reports are only in local language when it comes to the grassroots levels. We have a Gram Sabha where the social audit report is placed for validation, and there are auditing standards 2016 December in India by Department of Rural Development, which has been accepted by all departments that are in place. We have a specific systems we have specific protocols in place for social audit. First, we started with the Right to Work Act under Mahatma Gandhi Narega, then the 3-4 Acts, then social audit is in place in all schemes also, and all schemes follow these auditing standards only.
Yeah, so here I'd like to point out that what she's talking is about the social audit that's been mandated by the government. That is different from the social audit which we preach. This is social audit for the organization in the prescribed format which is being given by SAN UK. So there's always this debate with organizations which we have between the government mandated social audit, which does not have any reporting structure like
Yeah.
the way we do. It is more of a just a stakeholder consultation and reporting on what the people said. That is it. There isn't any impact metrics that is being taken tracked, or there isn't anything that's been reported much on the impact, but it is majorly on stakeholder consultation and reporting on what the people said and to find whether the money really reached the last mile. So that is a totally different thing, ma'am. We are talking about the social audit, which has been prescribed by SAN India, by SAN UK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. That is true. Even in social audit organizations, there are different ways of doing social audits for organizations also in India,
Yes.
as far as the different experiences. What my experience goes is social audit doing for there have been community monitoring processes. There have been people's have been large interactive processes or total system interventions, which is also not only for stakeholder consultancy, it also not only includes stakeholder consultations, but includes different exercises which goes through for 15 days, because I've been part of those exercises. There are different experiences. Like for example, what total system interventions or large indirect processes, that is also a part of social audit, which takes 15 days. So it depends on the organizations, what kind of methods they are.
Yeah, so because it is with the government project, it has to be written in the local language, and it varies from each state also, because each state is a different language in India. So can we go on with Banu's next session on how we are planning to do a end-to-end virtual social accounting and audit process in India? We've already started with a few organizations now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can I
Banu.
see the screen? Yeah.
Yes.
So when we talk about the entire social accounting and audit process, we are looking at the 4 steps, right? What is being preached by SAN UK. So the step 1 and step 2, when we are looking at the first basic working on the vision, mission, value, objectives, and activities, we usually do it face-to-face earlier, pre-COVID, where we have the core management team, the board members, and everyone coming together to discuss or revisit their vision and mission statement. Now with the online technology, now we have another Geo Meet coming up beside Google Meet and your Zoom and WebEx. So some video audio platform, we could connect with these team members and discuss or revisit the vision mission of their organization. So once this is being outlined and detailed, I'll show you a sample of an organization for which we have done recently. Based on the activities, we work backwards. So based on these activities, we can derive the stakeholder list. So suppose we have say a education program, and then the vision and the mission is discussed already, and we have the activities like a school, tuition centers, and things like that. Then we detail the stakeholders for each of these activities. So with that listing of the stakeholder activities, we identify the data sources from where we are going to gather them. It could be secondary data which is already available with the organization, which we can call for, again on a digital record sharing basis. They can of course scan the pages, click pictures and put in a Google Drive document, have a photo album of all the documents being clicked and placed there, or the primary data which we are going to do direct gathering of sources through our own consultation tools. That could also be another way of gathering information. So this stakeholder consultation tools also, we should have more of a creativity in having these tools done now, post-COVID. Earlier, what we used to do, we used to have stakeholder consultation forms like questionnaires or feedback form, or having focus group discussion or H form. or a poll method of gathering data. But now we have limited sort of face-to-face access, right? So what we do is we have this e-questionnaires. Again, we used to have the SurveyMonkey sort of a survey, links being sent to all the board members, asking them to give their feedback on a particular activity. So we can use online sort of a consent from these board members to allow us to use their feedback incorporated in our report, or we could just gather the nuances of what they have commented upon and report on that. So the consultation tools, I would like to show you a sample of one organization for which we worked. It was a CSR of a bank. It is called Equitas Development Initiative. And there what they did was, they had a school program where they had these rural children being trained. So besides education, they also had extracurricular activities, and they had sort of excellence models and give motivation programs for these children, which they wanted to check the impact. So we worked on a key aspect checklist for that, which we'll share later. But now to talk about the questionnaires for them and how we are going to gather the data, it was a challenge because these are all remote areas and we had to go physically to these schools. So when we worked with the board members, can you see my screen now? Yeah. See the vision, mission, objectives and activities, it took at least 2 sessions. Okay. The whole day went in deriving the vision, mission, value, objectives and activities. Although they had it with them, they were revisiting on the angle of the social accounting and audit. So when all these were firmed up, then we derived the core team who will be in charge for the entire social accounting and audit contact point for our team. So we had the management committee and the CEO all being included in the discussion. And then we derived the stakeholder consultation tool. This sort of a table we derived. So we had different streams. First, from the governance part, we had the trustees or the founder members or the management team, the core CSR committee members, all being part of the consultation, that first primary consultation. And we worked on feedback forms, which they could answer. Besides this, we also did one-to-one interviews, which we could record, no video recording we could do, or if you're doing a phone call recording also, now that's possible. So we did all that. Then the second level for the schools. Now for the schools, above 9th standard only are capable of doing a questionnaire answer, right? So we could provide a link for these school students to access the computers as a training room in their own school and fill in the e-questionnaires. But then when we had to go to multiple schools, we also used the technique of focus group discussion, where we went to select locations, gather the students above 9th standard in groups, and then we administered a focus group discussion questionnaire, and we recorded manually the answers. Now the same technique can be used virtually. What we could do, we could ask the students, we can share the Zoom link and ask, we can now invite more than 100, right? Ask them to come online and then they could share their feedback online. Or we could administer e-questionnaires via SurveyMonkey and ask them to fill in, and we can analyze the data once we receive. The same thing goes for their parents as well. The parents will have a different perspective of the entire program which we have been providing. This particular school program, where the core was to enhance English speaking skills, we had an interesting observation where the parents were complaining, why not Hindi? That is a national, the language spoken in India much, and they wanted their children to know Hindi. So that is not part of our scope or the intention of the organization which they wanted to deliver, right? So again, when we have all these open-ended questions and the way we derive our stakeholder consultation tools, this will help the organization to understand whether the next batch of their funding, are they going to have an add-on of having Hindi classes also for these children, if many of the parents are wishing to have that. So teachers, again, we have online questionnaires, focus group discussions, and virtual sort of connect to get their feedback, and their inputs will be way beyond what we may think. For them, the feedback we got was, for example, a lot of stress for us, a lot of report writing, and there's too much of additional work which is not mandated as per our our employment contract. So that was again one positive criticism, if I may call that. The school principals, usually one-to-one interview, and we do it all video recorded. So everything is evidence. It's not like We are just observing and making our own comments. We also have everything recorded. Lata, you want to say something?
Yeah. So here we'd like to say that when we give them the online questionnaire, it actually people are very, very transparent in that, because they know that nobody knows what they're saying, and we make it a rule not to take their names. We say, please don't write your name, and they're very happy about that. And then they are able to give us the full opinion on what is really happening, whether it's good or bad. We'll tell them we don't know who is writing it. You just have to answer the questionnaire. It will be anonymous. We only take the questionnaire. We'll only analyze the entire questionnaire set and do it. So your names will not be revealed. When we tell them that, you won't believe the teachers were so transparent that the organization itself was a little shattered when they saw some negative comments which came up. So in a way, these online questionnaires are really very helpful, but we have to tell them that we are not going to share it with anybody else. So they did it also. So we use the tool SurveyMonkey for all the online questionnaires. Do you also use SurveyMonkey? And
sorry. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a recent audit which has just come up, and which they're going to do totally virtual. So they have created an online survey form which they're going to administer for parents. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a questionnaire for parents, which has recently been created. So when we have this totally online, as Lata said, it will be totally non-judgmental and frank opinions coming up, than saying face-to-face any critical or any negative inputs which they may want to share. Or is there anything very positive and they're embarrassed to talk about it also, it will come out very well in such online questionnaires. So when we have these online questionnaires administered, the advantage is the SurveyMonkey will give you the analysis. Yeah, and it is very helpful when you write your report. It's very impressive also to show all your statistics coming up like this. Can you see this?
Can see the questionnaire banner.
Can you see this now?
Yeah.
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 So it's very impressive to have even the data analytics and all these graphs coming up, which will help you write your report. You may not take all the stats and put in your report, but some graphs are really impressive and may lead you to all your impact answers, which you're looking at. This is another survey which was done. So the income levels, everything could be analytically drawn upon from this sort of an example.
This is one thing which we help all our auditors with. We tell them, you give us a questionnaire, we will organize the SurveyMonkey. We have a person who's assigned for that. He will put the question online and also send them the analysis whenever they ask for. So, you need not know SurveyMonkey to really put it up. So that's another service which we give to all our auditors and our accountants. We tell them, you devise the questionnaire, but we'll help you with the SurveyMonkey, uploading it in the net and all that, and we'll give them the link which they will share it with the group they want to.
So next comes your stakeholder consultations. As I said, we can have these individual or group calls via the technology platforms which we may use. And then when we do this virtual inspection, we can always ask our client to take the camera around and show us, if it is an infrastructure support donor has provided and doing the audit for that, then you can do a virtual inspection. I can show you a video which we did recently. This was a hospital for, can you see the video?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a hospital for which they have provided equipment for the neonatal ward and as well as a pediatric ward. So we just go around. That was me, I was a social accountant for this particular project. So we can go around, see the facilities provided in the ward. So a social auditor need not have to physically go and visit this. This is also an evidence when it comes at the time of the audit trail, where the panel members may want to know the utility component or the quality of the material provided and all that. So all video evidence could also be part of your virtual inspection process. So we are asking you to explain what equipment it is. We're asking you to tell the name of the equipment on record so we know what it is.
Two parameters available for this vision. Whenever the is the emission.
Here, I'd also like to add one important point that we are Social Audit Network not only does social accounting reporting, we also do impact assessment reporting for many of our clients. Based on the same framework, like the BMBOA framework, we also write impact assessment reports for them. So because they know that we have a lot of experience in doing social accounts, they call us to do that. So the only difference between that report and social accounts is that the panel is not there. But we take all this evidence and show them. Though they have given it as a third-party assignment to us, we do all the video recordings and audio recordings and share it with them.
So also the telephone interviews, we have the audio records being placed at the trail, and email feedback also we get, one-to-one feedback also from the stakeholders. So it depends on how you're going to list who the primary stakeholders are, who the secondary stakeholders are, which methodology you're going to adopt in gathering the data. Is going to be only an audio, or if you want to go and get only an online questionnaire being filled in. So that is up to the prerogative of the social auditor. So this is a virtual inspection process which we can look at different stages. The first step is we have to agree, make the client agree to this entire virtual inspection, because they should be comfortable having the video being taken around the campus. Many of them have this sort of a security policy where they do not allow even our mobile phones to be taken inside. They tab our camera and then send it in, right? So the client should agree and plan the site inspection in such a way that it does not affect the security standards. And second, when we have a video call for virtual inspection, first agreement and then the actual video call. Then third is, when we are doing the video call, any important observations you make, you can record that. So suppose it is a positive one, or it's something critical which you want to bring it up, you can do the recording. So recording and then the storage of the video and then reporting on it. So this is a virtual inspection process which we carry on, and this is very effective because now that physically we can't go and we can't authenticate the data which we have seen on ground, this will add as a value for your reporting. So going back to our SAN framework, the step 3 and 4, when we have got the secondary data and the primary data, we have analyzed it using SurveyMonkey tools or SPSS, whatever packages we use, we start writing the social accounts. Again, when we draft the social accounts, we have 2-3 iterations, right? So we usually work on a Google document which can be edited and shared with a team. Suppose we are facilitating the writing of social accounts and we have more than one person working on it in different parts of the report. It's a Google document, and so we can see the revisions, edits, everything made on that. Then comes holding the virtual social audit panel. As Lata said, how we orient the panel members, we conduct the panel and then go onto the certification stage. So everything is possible. It's not necessary that we're having it virtual. This is an advantage, and this is a time for us to understand that how we could use this technology to augment the social audit and not have a gap because of this COVID scenario where we can't move out to conduct the social audit. There are more techniques which we could explain. Probably we can take it up later, like special tools which we can use for data consultation, techniques, how to derive questionnaires. All that could be handled much more in detail if you're looking at, if there are more interest on. So Lata is a specialist in creating questionnaires. She does all the lead for the questionnaire work for all our audits. So if you want a specific session on how to derive effective questionnaires, we can look at some webinar on that later.
So
we have
we have scheduled one of these events in September to be about consultation, stakeholder consultation. So it'd be really, my colleague Karen is organising that. So it would be really helpful to include some of your case studies, your examples in that. So if that's okay, I'll share that with Karen.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, even the questionnaires, when we work on the questionnaires or any stakeholder consultation tools, we go back to the client and we ask them to vet it. So that in case they feel that some questions are too sensitive, they don't want to ask that, then we remove it. End of the day, it's the interest of the client that we're doing the audit. So all our stakeholder tools, we share it with the client, unless it is assigned by the donor directly, not going through the beneficiary organization. We do share the stakeholder consultation questionnaires with the client before administering it. And we pilot it. We pilot it to a first set, and then after tweaking all the changes required, then only we go to a larger group to administer the questionnaires or feedback forms.
There's one more thing I'd like to say, like we have also started within the social accounts, though it is not there in the format in which SAN UK is given. We also have now added SDG alignment. So we report, when we report an impact, we also report on the SDGs in which they work and how aligned they are with which SDG. So it comes as part of the report. So that also really adds value to our clients, because that's what is needed now. So we, in the masterclass, we have also started a session on SDGs for them to understand what it is and how they should report on that.
Yeah, I think some English, so UK organisations are doing that as well. Certainly some I'm working with are doing that. Yeah. Are there any further? I've got a few questions I've been noting down, but has anybody else got any questions they'd like to ask Banu or Lata at this stage?
There's a question
How long
about,
have you been doing these virtual panels, or you know, this whole process? How long have you been doing that?
For the last 2 years.
We did the first one for Dubai, Indian Institute of Chartered Accountants, Dubai. That was the first experience we had doing a virtual panel, followed which we did for a government project in Kerala, in India. Now we have 2 more assignments coming up, so we don't find much of a change in the in adapting to this technique, because the basics is the same. So only the methodology of how we are going to gather the information varies here. So,
so there's something for me that really stands out strongly, which I didn't. It just clicked while you were talking there. That actually doing the audit virtually is a lot easier if the evidence and the accounts are written to include virtual data and things like that, and you're using virtual tools all the way through.
Yes.
Is that correct? That it, you know, it's almost like the two hang together.
It's true.
like I said in the last webinar, when we did the online audit for Dubai chapter of Chartered Accountants, there were some query raised by the auditor. So they took a day and they went back to the records, clicked images, and then had to evidence it before the social audit statement was issued. So it's not like the hard and fast rule that on the day of the panel, virtual panel, things have to be in order. If there are any gaps, we could always give them time to come back, give the evidence to authenticate whatever they have said, and then we have to come back with our final recommendations. So yes, we have this Google Drive and Dropbox and everything to share large documents. And how much of videos can we share? One question is, do the auditors view the video calls? Yes, if we insist on a particular comment being written in the report and we want to evidence it, we can ask them to show the evidence. It could be in the form of an audio video call or a email feedback form or any questionnaire which they have filled in. So auditors will have access to all the documents which has been collected during the stakeholder consultation phase, and it is transparent.
Okay.
And during our third virtual meeting with I think third one with in the Dubai, I think we mentored a social auditor also. Virtually, we mentored one person. So now we have 2 auditors in Dubai.
That's good. Can I
seriously, we wanted to start a SAN Dubai, but I don't know, it's not yet happening.
You seem to be managing okay from India, working in Dubai. Can I ask a quick question which goes back to the first section? And I was quite interested to know. So normally when we have social audit panels in the UK, they are a day-long event. They're quite they're very participatory. They're sort of, you know, they're friendly. They're people talking. There's people from the organisation allowed to take part and things like that. So it's very much a social event as well. How do you manage? But how do you manage that? Do you have a day-long Zoom meeting, or how do you manage the interaction? Do you do the panel in one day? Do you break it down? Do you? I don't know. I'd be interested just to understand how that's managed.
See, for this, when we did the panel virtually for Dubai, it was a very small set of accounts. It was hardly 20 pages, 20, 25 pages, that's all, because they weren't into very great activities. Not much was there. So it was easy, we could finish it in about 3 hours time. Otherwise, here also it takes one full day and everybody. And now we have started this students, the masterclass participants also being part of it. No, so it will go for 1.5 days also because they'll have so many questions to ask. Again, it's a one-day event. Otherwise, also we can still do it in Zoom because we're all sitting at home and probably we can shorten it or probably we can. But it goes on for a day here also.
In fact, I would like to point out here, like Lata said, we share the audit notes ahead, right? The social accounts ahead, and the trail, whatever material is there in the Dropbox or in your Google Drive. Every the panel members have access to that a day earlier, so they can go through their accounts, look for any pointers which they want to discuss in detail at the time of the panel meeting. So that consumes lesser time in the physical presence at the Zoom call. So they already have done their homework. So they come out only with issues which have not been clarified, or they could not find evidence in the documents which are shared earlier. So we break it up as a trail and the panel discussion in 2 slots.
Yes, that completely makes sense. Yeah. Has anybody? We've only got a couple of minutes left of the call. Has anybody else got questions they'd like to ask? You all look like you're thinking now very hard. Really made them think.
So for us, being social auditors and starting Social Audit Network India is really a boon for us because it's created a new profession. And it's clear, really, we have created so many impact consultants. Even if they have not become a social auditor, they have become impact consultants. Like that is also another great area to work with because people don't want an elaborate report. The donors want only an impact report. So we tell them, but use the same framework and try to write in the similar way. So any impact study, we follow this BMBOA format and try to report on that. It's so easier because the impact map is there. It cuts to pieces everything that you need to know. So that training which we give in the masterclass really helps them to evolve into some professional in this sector. Though not a full-fledged auditor, but still, that's what I said. We have about 100 clients in India. So that's quite a good thing. And one more thing is everybody has to come through our channel. So they always come back to us and ask us, are we doing the right thing? The mentoring is a continuous process. We keep mentoring anybody who is there because we say yes, because you need to write it correctly. Nobody should do it for money. That's it. You can do it also for money in India, but we say that should not be your goal. It's only you have to guide them to do the right things. So it's a big challenge also because we don't want them to, say that they have been trained by us and write something wrong.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
We should thank you.
No, we should. That has been incredibly well, illuminating, inspiring. So it would be really helpful if you could share the slides with me.
Sure.
And then we can share it with all the participants.
Sure.
I've been taking notes. I actually think there's something for the SAN. I'm looking at SAN board members on the call, sort of thinking, Liz and Dave, we need to reflect on this and maybe report back to the SAN directors in the UK. Some really interesting things coming out of this. I feel inspired, but I'm not going to promise to write a little blog about this. Because I don't know, there's so much going on in my head now that I'm thinking about. But if we could have your slides and we have the video of this call that we can share with people, that has been incredibly, really, really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and
thank you. Thank the
Lord.
Lord.
A lot of motivation for our team also to have.
I know, you're our motivations. And we have to live to your standards. That's our benchmark.
It's been very, very motivating to be part of this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.